Hi, I'm Corey.
Hi, I'm Tess.
Welcome to A Lovely Place.
We're so glad you've joined us as we invite Jesus into the midst of our lives, learning, and laughter.
We hope this podcast can encourage your heart and make you smile today. Hello, friend.
Hello.
Are you a lazy genius?
I'm not yet, but I'm getting there.
We are lazy geniuses in progress. Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. So we are chatting about Kendra Adachi's The Lazy Genius Kitchen, which is a little bit different than The Lazy Genius Way, but
Yes.
really good. It's practical and uses lots of the Lazy Genius principles.
Yeah, it's like if we didn't get to know Kendra in her other book, this is where you really get to know her because she really loves her kitchen and really loves her principles. Like, I don't know. It makes me happy that she got to write this book, and like I feel like it puts it together in a different way that I don't know. But and then when we just kind of mapped out our schedule for the podcast, we're like, yeah, we'll take section 2 in one chunk. We're like, no, let's not, because there's a lot of information in here. Yeah.
Yes. And yet again, like, I'm going to say it over and over again, probably. Like, I totally recommend people actually, like, buying the books that we read and not just, I mean, they can get good information from what we say, but you'll get more good information if you actually get the book. And this one especially has lots of lists and things in the back that can be helpful in your everyday kitchen life. So I think it's a good one to have and use as a reference.
And in the beginning of her book, Kendra even says, this is not a cookbook. This is a lifeline.
Yes.
So then I was telling you earlier, like, I feel like this is one I'm going to have to keep coming back to, like an actual reference book. Like, what did she say again about that? Like,
right?
Not that I have to copy Kendra's life, but the principles are in a way that you're not copying somebody, you're figuring out what you want.
Yeah. Well, and she talked about like they will reassess and like kind of name what matters in their like living in their season every I think she said 1 to 3 months with their like meals specifically, because things can change so quickly, especially in families and families of young children.
Yes.
Like, things change so quickly as to what you eat, what your kids eat, what your life looks like, what your schedule looks like. And so to come back and use this book as a guidebook when you reassess, like, what matters most now, because that will change.
Right.
So it's not like figuring out what matters most for the rest of my life. Like, that seems too big.
What?
Let's just focus on 3 months from now,
right. I think that's how God set up the world also. Spring, summer, fall, winter. I'm catching on.
Right?
Thank you, Jesus.
Yes. So the first part she talks about is so part 2 is called Have What You Need, right?
We got all excited.
She talks about space as the first one. So your kitchen space, like
your actual kitchen.
Yes. And I love what she says. Being all genius means spending excessive energy on things that don't matter to you. And I'm like, that's what an epiphany right there. That like,
yes.
And I continually have to give myself permission to be okay with only focusing on what matters to me. Like, it doesn't have to matter to anyone else. I don't have to focus on what matters to them, just what matters to me. So
I can't even figure out what matters to me sometimes, let alone what matters to them.
Right.
Or they become that illustrious they.
Yes, right. What are they doing?
Pinterest and social media example of this amazing woman that I pretend to want to be, and then I'm like, well, wait a minute, well, who's going to be me then?
Right. Yeah, I wrote this quote down. She says, because she was talking about Instagram meals and how we think, well, why isn't that on my table? And she said, comparison rarely leads us anywhere good, especially when we're comparing our situation to someone who has different priorities. Like, that's so good.
Yeah.
My priorities get to be my priorities, and it doesn't really matter what people think about that. Because I'm the person living my life, right? Like,
right. You're the one doing your dishes or not doing your dishes.
Right.
And in my case, Stefan, is our editor, our sound engineer. And so he was saying something to me. He's like, so you don't like things on the counter, huh? Or, like whatever I said in our last episode. And I was like, well, did you listen to all of it? Did it make sense? And then that led to a conversation with us about things. So I just thought it was funny. And then I don't remember what he said again, but it was just like, oh, well, all right, that's good. He listened to the podcast, at least for that little clip, to get it when he was getting it together.
Oh my gosh,
man! So
that's hilarious.
I still feel like I need to have a conversation about the tools, like because I moved them around. I think I told you that because I'm making room for the homeschool area.
Right.
And it's still in the transitional period. Summertime. So then I had to let go of the expectation that I had to do it all in one weekend. Like, it's like, no, it's not in one weekend. It's not how my life is right now.
Right. And it takes time. I feel like with reorganizing things and like Kendra talks about, minimize, like get rid of what you don't need before you organize, but like then organizing things and putting them in their place and like figuring out the flow of things takes time, because sometimes you'll realize like, oh, this isn't working as well as I wanted it to, and now we're going to change it around again, and so it may take a while before you get to that real, like that feeling of like, kind of like when you maybe this is just me, but when you go to bed at night and you like kind of have to like wiggle around in some different places and like you move your head around until finally you feel like, now that's the comfortable spot. And it's different each night. It might be different, and so it takes some movement and redirecting and recalculating whatever to figure out like, oh, this is the right fit,
Well, and I was just like, I had the luxury of, well, I don't know if it's luxury, moving. That seems like not a luxury, but I was just remembering some things I liked about the Battleground kitchen, and then some things I liked about this kitchen, and then just trying to be in this space. And then some of it you can translate from one space to the other space. And then you just have to live with what am I doing in this season? Like, Riker's different. He doesn't need as many plastic forks in his life anymore.
Yeah.
That's kind of a funny thing. It's kind of like when you're done with nighttime diapers, are we really done? Or do we need any plastic forks? Do I declutter them?
Oh, yes.
Whew, we can get disposable plastic forks. And then I'm like, well, we could wash these ones. And I'm like, oh my word, what season are you in? Like, are we going on a
crazy season?
I think I need to take a deep breath.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
So it's fun to kind of figure that out. And then, but I also am realizing I'm not the only one in the kitchen using it.
Yeah.
So that I think adds another layer of thinking about, not that, whatever. Still makes sense to put spoons in with next to the forks and knives. Like that makes sense, right? Like, and then the other answers, I don't know that Stefan necessarily cares where the things are, but he just wants to be able to find them in the same spot. So
yes.
I'm trying to not to just move things around to move them around, but
Part of me wonders,
there's a little more of that in the future.
Yes. Part of me wonders if maybe my kids would appreciate, because their job is to put the dishes away from the dishwasher. If they would appreciate like a map, I do move things around kind of often because I'm like, oh, this would work better over here.
Didn't you read the memo I sent out?
And then they're like, Mom, where does this go? Or I'll find something. I'm like, that's not where it goes. But then I'm like, oh, that's where it used to go. So, okay, I'll put it where it actually goes.
Yeah. Well, then that makes me think of the Dana K. White, a slob comes clean, and she's like, put this where you would think, where do you want this pin? Or where would you look for the pin?
Right.
Or where would you look for the measuring cup? And then put it there. So then you can find it because it's not making up a new, like.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to need to move the cutting mats back to the drawer they were in because I don't like where I put them. So.
And as we were looking over this or reading this chapter, I was thinking, okay, so like, because she was talking about the zoning, which is putting things near the place that you use them, so it's convenient, and she was talking about putting, like pots and pans and like things, you use on the stove, near the stove, and then like food storage near the fridge. And I was like, I feel like I could change things around a little bit. But then part of me is also like, I have a small one-butt kitchen. Like, I don't know if I actually need, like, there's nothing I'm ever really like, oh, I had to run to the other end of the kitchen to go grab it. It's like, oh, I turned around. Like,
oh,
know?
Yes.
So I'm not sure if I'm like making it more complicated than it needs to be, or if that would actually be helpful. I don't know. So
yeah, I do like, we have the peanut butter and the bread in the same cupboard. So then you're opening one door to make a sandwich. And then, you have the jelly. But it just helps. And then, what was the other thing? Oh, and I know when we moved into our kitchen, I had to make sure when the dishwasher door was open, where were you standing? And then what was easiest to put the dishes away. So that, I do think that is a good.
There are some good ways to think about it.
Yeah. So then it's like, but then sometimes it's like other things, it doesn't matter, or they can move around. Like in that one episode of Don't Mom Alone that she was talking to Kendra Adachi and they were moving her protein shake ingredients around her boys' smoothies or whatever. And
and living in the season, right? Yeah. So I liked how, because she was talking about organization, and that once you have let go of what you don't need, get rid of what doesn't matter. She talked about like the first pass and then the second pass. Mm-hmm. Like the first pass, you can just like anything that's broken, obviously throw it away. You don't need broken things. And then, to get down to just what you need. But then she talked about the big rocks plus fanning out. And she said, start with what can go in just one place or is important enough to get first dibs. Mm-hmm. So for some people, that might be your coffee maker. For some people, it might not be your coffee maker. Maybe you don't care. But then next, fan out. Pick the next most important thing and give it its best home. And then keep going until there's nothing left. That's it. So I thought that was helpful. So that requires you to name what matters to you, right?
Right.
And to know what's important to you. But then you can kind of make the kitchen revolve around those items that you use most or that are most important to you, And like she was talking about, like some big things can only fit in one place. It's like you don't have the luxury of like moving it around. So then you kind of organize around that, So I thought that was helpful.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then it's like that whole illustration when they put the big rocks in and then the little rocks and the sand and the water.
Right.
And that's like a lazy genius principle, go in the right order, right?
Yes.
Because then you can fit everything you need in, and then it becomes clear what you don't need. Like, I was thinking, like, I don't need to have the measuring cups in that one drawer because maybe we are using them. I don't know. But a lot of the baking stuff can just go with the baking stuff in the baking cupboard. Like, it's not like it's that hard to find it. Like,
yes. Or one thing that I keep thinking is, it's like, what does she say? She says, you don't need every tool for every skill. You just need what matters to you. And thinking through, like I know we've had conversations about the Pampered Chef, and I used to sell the Pampered Chef, and I was like needing all the tools for all the things. And now I think I'm in the season where I'm like, I want this one thing that can do like 20 things, and then I don't have to worry about having the 20 other tools
and the cutting board.
Right.
It's amazing what you can do with those two items.
Yeah. But like I don't need all the things. Just give me like, or even they like the one measuring cup that it's like has all the, you know, the lines on it instead of using just a tiny little scoop and having 10 different scoops that never actually get nested back in each other in the drawer. They just are scattered everywhere. And that makes me crazy. There we go. She talks about identifying what makes you crazy, right?
Yes. Well, and so then I was thinking again about Dawn, the minimal mom. Like, Riker's getting, I think I've talked about it being, he's tall enough to reach things a little bit better. So I was having him, well, and then I haven't been feeling well. So I had him help me load the dishwasher. So I rinsed stuff and just put it on the counter and then made him put it in there. And he put it in different than how I would do it, but that's fine. They were all in there and got clean. And now I lost track of why I'm telling you that. But... Dawn, the minimal mom, like they had each of her kids, she has 4 kids, they just have one plate, one bowl, so they just have to wash it right then. Or their meals are that they don't need other dishes, and that for the end of the day they have enough to eat whatever kind of food they're eating or whatever. But I was just like, there's 3 of us that live here. And sometimes I'm like going, how many plates have we used today?
Right.
And then even myself, like I was using a different plate and I didn't need to, and another fork. And I'm just like, I could have not done that.
Right.
Like, and I was, not that I need to just have one because I like, but it was an idea like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So
like, how could we tweak this to make it different
and minimize
easier?
The dishes so they're not all over the counter?
Yes. Right. Oh, goodness. Well, I love, so she talks about meals. The next part is meals. And it made me laugh because one thing she talked about at the last part of that was use less bowls. And she was like giving tips for when you have tacos, just serve all the toppings and the different things like on a sheet pan with some parchment paper, you know, and just dish them so you don't have a different bowl for each one. And I'm like, I never thought of that. Like, I thought you had to put it in each different bowl. So I was like, mind blown right there.
Yeah. Well, and then sometimes like I'll do that, or I'll just prep extra for those things, so then they're in the container that can go in the refrigerator and come back out again.
Yes.
So it's like I'm not putting them in a pretty bowl and then putting them into a container.
Right.
Just so it depends on how fast we're going to eat what we're doing. Because sometimes taco night, it's like, oh, that becomes our next lunch, dinner. Oh, it's all gone? Okay.
Yes.
But yes, it's fun to like, my mom likes to put lots of serving dishes.
My mom too.
It makes her feel that's good. It's like, that's important to her. That's fine. We can do, and I don't mind doing dishes at her house for some reason.
Right.
But I mind doing them at
right. Well, and
so
it's
I'm like,
good
here's a pot. You just serve yourself and go to the table.
And if she knows what matters to her, it matters to look pretty or, you know, whatever the case may be. And that doesn't matter to someone else. So that's okay. It's all good.
It's all good, man.
We get to choose what matters to us.
You want to eat a meal every day? We're doing that. Did she talk
Wasn't that one of the questions that comes up in the kitchen or whatever? Where was it? Let's see. It was, where did that go?
Well, and then I think one time, didn't she say something about if 3 meals and 3, whatever that like recipe from, like, if you don't need to plan your breakfast and your lunch, don't plan that. Or I don't know what it was.
I love, so she says, meals are a series of unending questions with crapshoot answers. Is it time to eat? What should I have? What will he want? Can I make this before she gets cranky? Do we have that ingredient? Is this worth another dirty pan? Will she eat that? Will this taste good? Can I make this without ruining it?
Yeah.
Where did I put that recipe again? Does cereal count as dinner?
Yeah.
Will my kids ever know how to cook for themselves? How are they still hungry?
Yeah, in all caps.
Yes. I love it. I love her sense of humor in this book.
Yes.
I think it's great. So, well, I'm going to read the verse that came to mind for
Pull it
me
back together, Tess,
on this chapter or this section, which is Proverbs 4:23, which says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." And that just made me think, as we're learning to be lazy geniuses and focusing on what matters to us instead of what matters to everyone else, and learning not to compare our lives to other people's lives, like we talked about, that is guarding our hearts. And we only have, we're only one person, and we have to do all the things that we have to do. So let's work at guarding our hearts and really naming what matters and only doing the things that we really have to do, instead of adding on all these other expectations or all the other things. So, yeah.
That is a good thing. Because then I was thinking, as you were sharing that, I'm like, we only have our person is our own space. Like, you can't make yourself have a different kitchen, typically speaking.
Yes.
Like, it's like, oh, how can we make this be the best we can be? Like,
yes.
Just here, this is a nice kitchen. It has a sink, it has a refrigerator, and even those things. That's like an amazing blessing to have. Like,
and privilege, yeah.
Yes. I have a floor to sweep and a broom to sweep. Like, I just was like turning the blessing things, like, look at all this that I'm. So I'm finding that I like my kitchen more and more, and I'm learning how to like food more and more.
Yes. And one thing
in a healthy way.
Right. One thing I've been learning and reflecting on is, as I take care of what I have, I appreciate it more.
Yes.
If it's something that I just and kind of throw the thing around or whatever, or leave it dirty all the time, then I don't really care about it and I don't appreciate it. But if I put in the work to take care of it, then I feel more thankful for it. So,
yeah. Well, and then it works better because then you can go in there again and it's not another stress of, I have to go in that dirty room that's disorganized and no one likes to be in.
Yes.
Yes. It's like,
right?
How about that? Lazy genius, your kitchen.
Yes.
And your meal. And I like the meal. We could keep talking. That's why we had to break it up. So.
Right. There we go. Well, friends, we'd love to hear from you on maybe how you're
over for dinner.
Lazy genius in your kitchen. Or, we always would love feedback of what you think of the podcast.
Yeah.
And we're excited that you're listening. And we're excited to keep moving through these lovely books this summer on A Lovely Place. Thanks for listening.
You said it all, friend. Thank you.
All right. Bye.